Hey guys, we are here today with another twin flame reading about the general channeling of the divine masculine and where the divine feminine is currently at. There's been a lot of really interesting energies lately. So with that being said, I'm calling in all of my angels, ascended masters, 5D and above to really come through and talk about the current energies going on. And a lot of what the divine masculine has been experiencing lately is a lot of the truths are coming out, and something that I got a very clear message about from my guides is that a lot of the divine masculine is really in a chaos that is in direct correlation to a lot of them that have struggled with narcissistic behavior and even narcissistic abuse or being the perpetrators of such, is that they have essentially created a sense of self-grandiosity to the direct propensity in which the childhood wounds and demons that they are trying to run away from. And in doing that, it has given them logical justification to run away from their demons by the very chaos they've created. So in their mind, if they've created a figure that is larger than life, or that is the head or the face of a company or anything like that, then them running from themselves to and from their higher self and their inner child essentially justifies that. It justifies it to their ego and their mind that what they're running away from is worth it, because they created a figure who is now so chaotic and so grandiose, and it's almost like the illusion of the arrogance or self-grandiosity is a direct weighted mirror to the depths of the pain in which they have felt. So the larger their figure they created, at least in their minds, even if not in their 3D paradigm life, the more importance they want to give that ego illusion to, in their mind, justify them running from the core wounds. So with that being said, the second part of that is that my guides were telling me, and again, this is from source 3, is that the more chaos they create, the more turbulent their emotions are, and the deeper the childhood wounds are. And so the chaos they then choose to create is perpetual and never ending, so long as they run from their wounds. And so as long as they run from those childhood wounds, they will not know peace, because peace can only come from being authentic and from being in your power. And even the very fear of being exposed comes from the fact that they know that they're living in a paradigm that they no longer subscribe to or believe in. That's why so many of them have a fear of being exposed, because those who have nothing to hide have no exposure to fear. But the reason they fear exposure so much is because the superficial reason is because, a lot of the life they created on those false paradigms will collapse. But the actual underlying fear for a lot of them is that should those things collapse, and they are forced to face themselves, because so far the chaos that ensues their life has been so deep and so turbulent that it's justified to themselves and to everyone around them that their wounds don't need attention at the moment, because this chaotic illusions based on false paradigms takes precedent, because it is so chaotic. So with that being said, the first card channeling transmission from the divine masculine state of being is not to let pride get in your way. So again, this is a perspective uh, I am reading this as if it was to the divine masculine, because this is a divine masculine channeling, to get insight into the perspective of the divine masculine. I first had to almost come to self-union with my inner divine masculine, and then the twin flame journey has forced me to come to union with my inner divine feminine. So it's something that I understand well, and it's something that my guides have allowed me to really tap into for the peace of mind of not just the divine feminine, but to better understand the psychology of this journey and this union from the perspective of the masculine, so that the feminine energy can also look within and heal a lot of those aspects of themselves, because we all have inner divine masculine and feminine energy within us. So what I'm getting here is for divine masculines and for inner divine masculines, not to like pride get in our way. So this is really talking about the pride of holding on to something we no longer subscribe to or believe in for the sake of 3D illusions. And what I'm also getting right now is that a lot of fear is creeping in to the divine masculine about the current work conditions and general financial fear, and we can see this in the state of the general overall economy and the state of the world right now. There's a lot of exposure energy, there's a lot of exposure happening, and the divine masculines are almost the first movers advantage in this shedding of old ways. And so a lot of what pride is here, it really speaks about ego, right? Because a lot of what we've built so far is predicated not on any kind of unconditional love, happiness, or fulfillment, but rather keeping up with the Joneses, per se, of who can do the most, because and who can flash the most, who has the biggest car, the biggest house, because that is what this paradigm and this, especially America, has predicated the entire economy on. And so they needed people to be put into the matrix. And if you haven't watched any of my previous videos, one of them is titled like the original wounds, or the divine masculine's pain, the original pain, or something like that. And it really talks about how we got plugged into this paradigm and this matrix, and how that's collapsing. And as that's collapsing, the divine masculine has a predisposition to face before the rest of the collective those pains and those fears as those things are collapsing. So can I get some insight into, okay, so what I'm getting here is that they need, so the Nine of Wands and the Ten of Cups just came out, and it's been coming out here quite a bit the last couple of days, and together. So what I'm getting here is that they're going to need to find the endurance to rebuild the life that they've had, but this time predicated on unconditional love and predicated on fulfillment and things of the higher vibrational level. So what is the current concern of the divine masculine's material life? What is holding them from coming towards their divine feminine? The King of Discs. Oh, these are a lot of the same cards that came out for a reading I did yesterday. And they're really determined right now to be the financial knight in shining armor of the divine feminine, and just in their life, because right now they do have a fear of a lot of these things collapsing. And I've been getting a lot of insight as to the fear of the masculine, because they're so dependent, they're so validated by the exterior forces. And what I'm also getting is that the more they want to run from their childhood wounds, the more tumultuous those conditions will be. And the reason it is because we are all going to ascend, mercifully or not. For us to exist in higher vibrational paradigms, there's certain energies that cannot exist: fear, greed. And so for that to take place, then there's a fundamental shedding that needs to happen. If that shedding doesn't happen by their own will and accord and their own willingness to grow beyond certain things, then the universe will, and it's not, it is obviously sources the universe, but it's one of those things where it's almost just cause and effect. If you don't, if you have a child and they're 3 years old and they go into a store and they steal, and then you want to not say anything to them because you want to placate to their comfort, then things will only get worse and worse until they inevitably end up in jail or what have you. So in a lot of ways, this is the divine feminine makes them uncomfortable, but we make them uncomfortable because we care about them, and it's something that they're not used to. Because in this paradigm, usually people that disturb you or make you uncomfortable are people who want to upset or anger you. But this is not the case here with the divine feminine. But they don't understand that, because a lot of them, what I'm also getting is they've had childhood trauma, or they were maybe abandoned, their parents weren't around their childhood, so they never knew anyone to care about them, to fix a lot of their distorted behavior, right? So they don't know the caring side of holding someone accountable per se. So they only have so far seen it as, this person makes me happy or not happy, comfortable or uncomfortable. They're too intense. But what they're starting to realize is that we're doing that because we do love them and care about them unconditionally. And because we care about them unconditionally, we want them to be the best version of themselves, almost like a healthy parent would to their child. And so because a lot of them didn't have that, I'm getting that they didn't quite understand that this was the point of the divine feminine. So what I got here is the divine animals, which is interesting because I am in communication with my divine masculine. It's tumultuous and it's not consistent per se, but he texted me this morning about him having 2 dogs and I should get a cat because I really like cats and I post a lot about cats. So what I'm getting is that for a lot of them, I'm getting a few things here with divine animals. A lot of them is, for some reason, I feel like I need to put this out there, and my guys are telling me that the conscientious evolution of animals has evolved quite a bit. It's almost like they are also ascending. With that being said, I'm getting that a lot of them that have like dogs or cats or maybe material goods, is that that's been taking the role for them of love, or for them, they use those inanimate objects or animals because they cannot hurt them. And the divine masculine or feminine, their divine counterpart, can actually hurt them. And it's like they are with karmics and they've been with these other things and placated to these other 3D value solutions because they cannot actually be hurt, right? Because only the people that are closest to you can hurt you the most because they're the ones you actually care about. And so for them, and it's interesting here that it's a lion here in the picture. As you can see, and it's also a lion here, not to let pride get in your way. And they fell and they're aligned in the exact same way. So what I'm getting is that there is, so different, just like angels and or just anything really, it has its own vibrational resonance that are angelic or darker. And so different animals have different frequencies. They are, I think a lot of times when we think about our animal guides or spirit guides, it's a certain vibrational energy that certain animals or angels or anything encompasses that are watching over us, or that are caring for us, and what have you. And so part of what I'm getting is that they've had, or that they've seen animals that linger around, that's always almost kind of watching over them. I'm also getting that for a lot of you, you're gonna have a specific animal in mind that when you see them, it's a sign of the divine that it's supporting you and it's there. And that's what my guides are telling me. But there's here a message, because we've never talked about animals like that really, but this morning he did text me randomly that I should get one. And I think it just speaks to, they've always had emotional support from things that, or from animals, or from spirit angels that can't, that there's a degree that they can control, no matter how much their animals or angels love them. There's a sense of control that they feel they can have with animals, because they can't, in a way, talk back to them. But what I'm getting here is that their hearts are now being opened, as you see in this picture, to let unconditional love, because I'm also getting that a lot of animals love you unconditionally, right? Especially pets. No matter what you do to them, they just love you. And that's something that my DM would always say to me, is that he loves animals because they just love you. And so does the divine counterpart, the divine feminine. But because we love them, we tell them things they don't necessarily want to hear. And so they're starting to realize that this love that they have for the feminine is also divine, and that animals are divine, and that really everything else is divine. And that's what they're starting to almost piece together, where the embodiment of their cosmic love that exists in everything is what I'm getting as well too here with this picture. So source higher power, there's another card that I am meant to pull. Okay, so this card came through, which is I just got this deck, guys, and I'm really, really loving it. So this card alignment came out, and so what I'm getting is that as we gravitate towards higher vibrations, the divine feminine, as we come to self-union, as we work on our ascension process, we are ascending, and we're also coming into our alignment. And what I'm getting here is that as we come into our mission alignment, see, and it's almost like this spirit of truth is the sword, right? Kind of like the King of Swords, the Queen of Swords. It's very truth telling, but there's a heart, and it's really about being in your alignment. And there's a heart in the middle of the sword. So what I'm getting is that as the divine feminine comes more into their alignment and their power, their heart is being activated. And as we are more and more engaged with our higher vibrational energies and our higher selves, that alignment of their heart is being activated as our alignment of our careers and our missions are being activated. So what is currently holding back, getting also what is currently holding back the divine masculine is also in here, being guided to draw from this deck for that as well. So, okay, what is holding back the divine masculine? Soul journey, inward revolution, and soul family. So I really love this. Like, let me know what you guys think about it, guys, in the comments below. But what's holding them back right now, and I think this is a very clear message, is that their soul journey is not what they expected. There's truths coming out about them that are coming out not in the way that even we expected. And so what I'm also getting is that for a lot of the divine feminines, we have banked on maybe the karmic being that role that tells the truth. But as we are twin flames, and we are the same soul in two different bodies, as the feminine comes to alignment, it is almost inevitable that a lot of the truth about the divine masculine comes out not in spite of them or not in revenge of them or anything against them, but because simply it's almost like we feel this need to tell our story, and in telling our story, it's confessing their sins as if they're our own. And that's why it's almost like not malicious or vicious, and they're trying to realize that. And what I'm getting here with the soul family and the soul journey is that a lot of us are essentially cut from the same cloth, right? So what I'm getting for a lot of twin flames, or for all twin flames, is that as a collective, we are here to ascend the human consciousness. And inward revolution, here's what I'm getting, is that as the way we talk to people and the way we see them will bring out a side of them that caters to that way in which we see them. And so when we see the best in people, we activate the best in them. And as a part of this soul journey, what I'm being guided to say is that we are all collectively here to ascend the human consciousness. And they're starting to realize that not only this is bigger and divinely guided, but our truth and their truth and the truth that they've been hiding and avoiding in their Ezra soul contracts and their life mission. And it's almost what I'm getting is that a lot of them felt that those were the things that they needed to avoid or they needed to heal. It's like this paradigm convinced them that the more they suppress or ignore that, the better they are, the more successful they are. And they're starting to realize that it's actually their strength. As we come into our alignment and as our inner revolution has taken place, continues to take place, and we continue to embrace it, no matter what that looks like, they're starting to realize here that this is divinely guided and that this is actually for the greater good of all, and especially the greater good of themselves. And that I'm also getting that for a lot of them, they have been, it's like a lot of them knew, and a lot of them also had this sense of self-grandiosity, not only in contrast to their wounds, but they almost felt that, you know, they were always meant to have a big voice and they were always meant to change the world. But they thought that if they got to control the narrative, like this 3D paradigm convinces them or tells them is the way to be done, they feel as though the more they were able to suppress it, the more successful they were, because that's what they were told. And now they're realizing that is the exact opposite. So it does take us back to this endurance that they're currently in, because they do want the 10 of Cups. And what I'm getting from the 10 of Cups is they want the fulfillment of the 10 of Cups, not just, there was a point where I think even the Divine Feminine was on the boat of, well, we want them to go in enchanting armor and to come rescue us, and you know, that didn't take place, right? So now we're coming to our power, we're getting stronger. And once upon a time, it's almost like the 10 of Cups seemed that like it was a white picket fence, a happy family, the karmic gone, and that's not the case. But that's a good thing, because, you know, hindsight 2020, what we're starting to realize now is that as we are more in our alignment, and as this is, you know, spearheading towards the determination of the King of Disc, we are in our alignment as within, so without, as above, so below, versus subscribing to the alignment in this paradigm as society tells us it should be. So this is actually so much more rewarding and fulfilling. And at this point, it's like no power on earth can take this away from the Divine Feminine, and the Divine Masculine is starting to realize that the enlightenment and turning this purpose into pain and the transmutation of such gives us true quote-unquote power that no power on earth can take away from us, because it's coming from divinity, and it's coming from within, and it is divine, and it is source, and they're starting to see that, and they're starting to realize that they want that too. And so we're not trying to control their narrative, we're not trying to sabotage their life. We've ascended, And that's where a lot of this truth telling that we're doing is coming from. And they're starting to realize that, and they're starting to realize that whatever we have, they want. Not just from the sense that they love us and they want to be with us, but from the standpoint of radiance and glowing power and health and happiness and radiant glow that is coming from us being into this power, coming out of this, starting out of the soul. So I feel like there's a message in here that wants to come out. I feel like it's mostly about the divine feminine in clarification to the role we hold now and how the divine masculine sees us and in this general context. So angels 50 and above, if there's a card that wants to come out from here in the context of, and again, align your life. So what I'm getting here is that with this card is that a lot of the divine feminines are still confused, or this is still not what they want to hear. And that they want to focus more on just union, right? And so it's almost like anything that doesn't speak to that for some is almost like a waste of time, or it's almost like this feeling of like, well, I already know. And here she's looking in the mirror and she knows what she looks like, but it's still breaking, or it's broken. And so what I'm getting here is that a lot of divine feminines may be resisting some of the inner healing work, because what I'm getting is, because this is this is primarily about birthing a new age, right? And ascending to the 5D paradigm. And so that's what this is really about, right? I mean, union is part of the journey, or the twin flame journey is part of that, but it's really about coming to these higher realms. And that's really what the alignment is for. Union will happen as we focus on our own ascension. And it's kind of the paradoxical thing of this twin flame journey, because usually we're used to almost manifesting whatever we want in a lot of ways, because we are that powerful, except for this twin flame journey or situation. So I'm being drawn to how does the divine masculine see the divine feminine at the moment? What is the feeling that they're having towards, okay. So what I'm getting is that a lot of them, in this full of alignments, a lot of them are really suffering coming into their alignment, and it's the Three of Swords and the Ten of Swords. And so what I'm getting is that a lot of them almost don't even know how to pull through out of, they can't even begin to conceptualize how to begin to look inward. And because this is a fell over inward revolution here, and here with the Three of Swords in reverse as well, and this fell over the Ten of Cups and the Ace of Discs. What I'm getting is that a lot of them, their finances are really, really coming to a screaming halt. They're really being affected financially, and they refuse to see the fact that this is happening because they are avoiding their childhood wounds. What I'm also getting here is that these 10 swords are almost stabbing in the form of the tree of life formation. So what I'm getting is that as they are resisting to look inward, the tree of life really speaks to the higher realms, and then, as the higher realms, and then one as a single lower realm, is that as they refuse to look inwards, their finances are really starting to collapse quickly. And so, because they're refusing to be in their alignments here with this Three of Swords energy, and it's stabbing them in the heart. So it's almost like they've seen the divine feminine correlated to the pain in their heart, and so that's part of the reason they've been running, because they only know the world from their own level of perception, and they're feeling that it's the divine feminine the reason why they're suffering, because there's a correlation between divine feminine, you get closer to her, things happen, triggers happen, alignments happen. With alignments happening, things fall apart. So now they're feeling this double-edged sword of, or I should say triple-edged sword, the divine feminine, themselves and their ego and their financial lives, and it's now all stabbing them. And it's so paradoxical, because they feel like, the way to make that pain go away is to run from the feminine, because it almost in their mind only makes sense that way. But the reason why it's happening is because we are in their alignment, and the more they resist their alignment, which is resisting us, the more their world falls apart. So in their mind, they can't conceptualize how is it that we are in their alignment when every time they get close to us, things happen, right? Childhood wounds get triggered. So it's almost like they see us as a part of the problem, because that's the level of perception in which they are understanding things. And so I'm being guided to pull from this for a little bit. Okay. And the Seven of Discs came out here with investments. And so what they're starting to realize or think inward about is what investments needs to be done within themselves to begin to look at this the right way. I'm getting that they're also realizing that we are their alignment somehow, and that it's meant to be somehow, but they're trying to begin to conceptualize from the mental standpoint how to go about that and what that looks like, because they've realized that the way they've interpreted for a lot of them is not what is real. And then what is, and then begs the question, well, what is real? But they're realizing this connection is real, and that the only thing that, and to answer that question, the only thing that is real is unconditional love, is what holds us all together. But they're starting to understand that how they've known the world to be, that's not what's happening, that's not reality, that's not they need to take a different path, is what I'm getting. So can I get a little bit more insight on what about, is there anything specific that wants to come out about their financial situation or a karmic? So angels talking about, ooh, so this card flipped over. The Tower just came out. So there's definitely a collapse here with the world and their lives. So with that came out the Chariot, as well as the Prince of Wands. So in reverse. So what I'm getting here is that this situation they're facing now with their life falling apart is pushing them, here with the Chariot card, to be more expressive about their true passions. here with the Prince of Wands. And what true passion is it pushing them towards? I mean, they are still very much focused in their Six of Pentacles. Well, in moving in their financial paradigm and sector, which has kind of been the problem this whole time for a lot of them. But it's also the Ace of Cups, so they want to move into an emotionally fulfilling way of being or paradigm is also what I'm getting. And what's holding them back? What is holding Divine Masculine currently back from? Too many cards. What is holding Divine Masculine back at the moment from the Sun? What I'm getting here is the Divine Masculine, here with the Sun card coming out in reverse, is that the Divine Masculine does not want to be held back anymore. He's really trying to think of the best way to move forward. And in the middle here, the Sun card is the Divine Feminine. And so, and the Ace of Wands to the bottom of the deck with the Star. So they really, what I'm getting is they're really trying to figure out how to spearhead with the Divine Feminine. I think a lot of Divine Feminines have had a very not only do we not want to wait, but we're almost cynical about the entire thing. And again, this is not going to resonate with everyone, but some of the Divine Masculines really are trying to figure out how to move forward towards the Divine Feminine, knowing that she is his star, right? She is his calling and his mission, and that is where fulfillment is. I think what's interesting too here is the way they came out is that this, it's really interesting actually, is that the Ace of Wands, the way it's aligned is almost crazy perfect. It takes you directly into the Sun. Like, can you guys see that? It's almost like one card. So it's like the divine, so them spearheading towards the Divine Feminine, and I'm also getting here as above, so below here in this paradigm with the Ace of Wands of all things, like the root chakra, like sexual energy, healing energy, relationship, romantic relationship energy. That is what leads them to their Sun. To the Sun card, which is the brightest card, the most positive card. And so that is extremely powerful, guys. It is very telling of where we are at in the journey. And is there any message? What does the Divine Masculine want to communicate to the Divine Feminine right now? So, what is the message the Divine Masculine wants to communicate to Divine Feminine at the moment? Keep an open mind. So your soulmate may differ from your usual type and expectation. So what I'm getting here is that some of you might be starting to see soulmates, and the idea of that will begin to maybe torment a lot of them. But what I'm also getting is that, as we said right before this, the Divine Masculine is shifting and changing, and we're almost cynical about it, is to keep an open mind about their ability to change, because they very well might surprise us and impress us with their ability to change. And is there anything that we can do or work with the divine to help them come into alignment and ultimate fulfillment and love, and to assist the divine masculine as they are divine counterparts, those that are in a twin flame union. They're an extension of ourselves. Is there anything we can do in working with the divine regarding helping the divine masculine come towards us, ultimately for the greater good of all? And so we got here as parents, and again, this card always came out lately with the divine masculine, which is a card I used to never get. What I'm getting is that going back to the parental example that I gave, that they've never been held accountable, a lot of them, is that here's what the card says: the divine truth is that your parents eternally love you to the best of their ability. The angels are helping you heal from any pain associated with your mother or father. What I'm getting is that a lot of them that have been very hurt by their parents, it's almost the people that were supposed to love them most have betrayed them and hurt them the most. And what I'm getting is that that's why they feel that divine feminine will ultimately hurt them, because the closest love they've known to feel, the most trusting, has hurt them, and that is what a lot of them are holding them back. So the angels are clarifying that for us, and that they're helping them heal these things. And to try to be more understanding of those wounds, because we all have them, but some of them have them deeper, and not everyone can heal them the same way, is what my angels are telling me. And that to be patient with them like you would a child. Obviously, do not engage in toxic relationships or behavior, tolerate that, but remember that a lot of them go back to their childhood state, their very childlike state, whenever they're frantic or upset or hurt. And for those that resonate, that is kind of where their emotional captivity has been and held at this whole time. So I'm getting, so here, so that's really regarding a lot of divine masculine and some of the divine feminine. I'm also getting some of the divine feminine maybe projecting these fears onto the divine masculine that they've had with their own parents. And then the third eye chakra and visualize success. What I'm getting here is that it's safe to see the energy. It's safe for you to see the energy of love in all of its forms, such as angels, auras, and visions. And this is also a reminder that unconditional love already exists all around us and within us. For us to unconditionally love somebody else, it inherently implies that we unconditionally love ourselves. If that's not the case, and that is really, quite frankly, just an obsession, because if we don't love ourselves, how can we love our twin if they're an extension of ourselves? So what I'm getting from this is to really remember that unconditional love is a state of being, and that it is everywhere we look, it is everywhere we turn, and to be in that state. And the more we're in that state, the more we're going to not just attract us, but the more we will help the divine masculine open their heart to be in that space as well. And visualize success. See yourself doing well in a situation and having a positive outcome. What I'm getting here is that the divine feminine is very powerful. It can manifest anything. You know, a lot of the ascended masters that are male is because a lot of the male energy, the negative polarity is the masculine, divine masculine, the positive polarity is the divine feminine, is that it is a lot of the masculine that needs to do a lot of the healing work and a lot of the transmutation, and we're here to assist them. With that being said, we are very, very powerful in our emotional attunements, and we can manifest anything. So it's what we think about is important to remember, that we can very much manifest into real life, and that's also what we're attuned to. So to keep in that higher state of vibration and to keep towards our ascension process, and to not lose sight of that, because to lose sight of that will inevitably mean setting back our divine masculine, and as well as ourselves. because we are that powerful, if we wallow in certain energies that are not of the higher vibrational resonance, our twins will receive it accordingly. And that's what I'm getting, is like our state of being is very triggering any and at all times with theirs. So the more we are not at the highest vibrational state, the harder it is for them to overcome their demons. Is what the divine is saying, and my angels and source being able to pull one more card from here. Energetic upgrades, awakening, a new way of being, integration. So yeah, guys, this is obviously about coming to self-union. A lot of visualizing success is ultimately a telltale sign that we're coming to self-union is when we rid ourselves of those negative vibrational energies that are keeping our divine masculines down. And we must live by example, as we are the ones. I'm beginning here that we are the ones awakening, and we are the ones that are awakened, and we are the ones that are triggering awakening to the world around us. And you also hear that one of the deck is just say yes. For some of them, this is confirmation that this is about your divine masculine. If you were thinking about them in a certain way when I was saying this, and if you were, you will know, and you will just know. For another few, it's regarding a career move, change, or path that is for your betterments and for the greater good of all, and that you understand that within you, but maybe you're on the fence. It's the answer is yes, and that we are on that path, and that we're already doing that. We are doing our work. So what we need from this, don't be discouraged. If anything is said, you feel like, oh, well, sometimes I have negative thoughts about my twin or whatever. It's like you are on your way. That you know, there's stages to knowing. Is first you don't know that you don't know, then you know that you know, then you know that you know that you know, and then you know it so well that you don't have to think about it. It's almost like memorizing to forget it. And you're in the state of, even if you're not always perfect and you're not expected to be, you're already in your process and in your work. And even in just watching this video, shows that, you know, you do care to some degree about the alignment, your own alignment, and the greater good of all. So yeah, focus on your transformation, deep replenishment from things that have consumed or hurt you in the past, or the pains that are still triggering. Rest, retreat, be held, and that's important. And a lot of us want to be held by our divine masculines. Sometimes that's all we think about. But just know that you can also call in any ascended master, your guides, your angels, and you will feel their warmth as if it's an embracing and a warming hug. And it's almost like the divine masculine of all masculines, as well as the feminine of all feminines, is within you and is always there to embrace you. And it's a superpower that's always been there for you. So sometimes you just need to call it in and just let the divine know that you need a hug, and you will feel them there with you. With that being said, dance with life. If you are in any kind of like inner longing, just focus on your path of ascension. And I know that's very difficult to say, like, how can you say that? You know, I understand how difficult this is, but what I mean by that is just like, you know, force yourself to walk out the door and see the sun, or talk to someone, or, you know, even just forcing yourself to get out of bed. I know it's very difficult, but even if it's just for a couple of minutes, and just experience the love that you feel for divine masculine in the world around you, and that the love and longing that you feel for them exists all around you, because you are it. You are unconditional love. You are source. And it's all around you. And moving towards your alignment will get easier as you surrender to the divine in all forms, and in timing, and knowing in divine timing over your timing. And you hold the keys to everything you ever wanted within you already. And this door is wide open, right, as they're dancing here with life. So I feel like that's all. There's one more that was kind of here. And it's mediumship. And a lot of the ones that came out in the reading yesterday as well. And yeah, you have natural abilities to remind you to understand that maybe a lot of the feelings of what you're having is you're tapping more into a collective and into your mediumship abilities and into your intuitive abilities, and to be mindful of what emotions are yours, what are your twins, and what is the collective, because as you become more powerful, understanding how to discern different energies and where they're coming from is going to become increasingly important, because you are becoming, your software is being upgraded, or your like spiritual software, energetic updates here and that. And I feel like part of the awakening process, and it speaks back to this, is understanding and finding a deeper attunement to what energies are coming from as you come more into your power of like mediumship or heart chakra. What I'm getting here is, as you come into that, remember that you are unconditional love, and that unconditional love is always with you because source is always with you, and to try to always revert back to that state whenever it's hard for you to discern where these energies are coming from and what they actually are. I know that a lot of you guys, and I can already hear it, just want to hear about union and where the divine masculine is for union, and I just want to remind you that that's not what this is about. And I will only go there if I'm being guided to go there. And to be honest, I'm rarely guided to go in that path of just union and what that means. So this is not the best channel. You just want to know about your divine twin. With that being said, a lot of soulmates come into the picture, not just or karmics, not just for yourself, but also for your twin. And I'm being guided to say that this is necessary, because if they're not in their highest form of self, their highest vibrational resonance, then you're only going to be disappointed if you try to force union before that, and it's going to be way more detrimental, and it's going to hold you back quite significantly in your twin flame journey, because you will see a side of them that you really shouldn't be seeing. And so some of them might need another karmic to really show them to purge and to really learn how to miss the divine feminine. For those of you guys that are maybe seeing soulmates, I'm also getting that if that is coming to the equation, you're doing your work, you're not doing it in avoidance, you're running from self, that you're fully allowed to give the relationship a chance. You don't have to be with your twin flame, at least not right now, so long as your intention is pure with a new potential soulmate and is not just avoidance or running. And for those of you in that boat, which is very, I'm going to guide it that it's going to be very, very few, because it implies you've already done your healing work, you've done your transmutation, you have no longing, you're completely at peace, and then someone else just walks into the picture. And to remember that, when you vibe at that highest energetic resonance, you're going to attract that, and you're going to activate any man or any masculine energy. And I will do another reading about the karmic that's potentially walked into the twin flame's life, because it's actually going to be very short-lived, but I did get that message, unfortunately. But I'm getting that for those that are maybe going back into a karmic, is going to be only for them to realize that that is not the love that they have for the divine feminine and the love that they long for. And you will be able to recapture the romance between you two by allowing your inner youthful spirits to shine. What I'm getting here with the Playfulness card is that it's going to be your inner children that are ultimately meant to come together in your higher selves, not who they are in this ego paradigm, and that's only going to affect you, hold you back, and be that much more disappointed in your twin, and just maybe in general, because of how much we've hoped to see the best side of them, and if they're not in the highest vibrational form of themselves, it's really going to just hurt us so much more to be close to them. And I've experienced that firsthand. It's just going to affect you. So here these cards actually have come out quite a bit with Ask Your Soul, Soul Name, and then the Soul Craft, and the Awakening card again. So what I'm getting is here with Soul Name is getting to know ourselves in the highest vibrational form of ourselves in our awakening process, and manifesting our power and our true power, and being in our power, and being in that state of the highest energetic resonance. And then if sometimes we have questions, we can always ask our soul, our higher self, to give us clarity and to remember, because it's important to remember that our soul crafted this entire mission, this entire paradigm, for us to heal certain things that we're meant to heal only in this paradigm. Whether it's, for some it might be karmic fame and overcoming the way people, for a lot of divine masculines, it's overcoming the way people see them and not controlling the narrative of how people see them in their most authentic form. As well as maybe for a lot of divine feminines, maybe begin to experience karmic fame, they will have to overcome caring about how they are perceived or seen in their awakening process, and being seen for who they are in the highest vibrational self. And people of lower vibrations in this paradigm are going to inherently judge and be uncomfortable, and you have to be okay with that as you come into your full power. And that's what I'm meaning here with Soul Name, because our highest form of selves, our deepest light language name per se, or our highest name, is also something that we can ask our soul to begin to remember, because our soul crafted this journey. And so any question that we have, we can look within and find the answer to in our awakening process. I feel like there is so much in these 4 cards that I think it's best if you just really look at them on your screen and just take what resonates from these very 5D kind of cards, which are these 4. So Ask Your Soul, and Soul Name, and Soul Crafter. That looks very similar to Awakening, and these 4 came out together. If you want to look at the spread of, I know it's kind of all over the place, but I feel like you might see a light language or light code message in looking at this screen and how this is all turning out. So with that being said, guys, I hope that reading was helpful. If so, like, comment, subscribe, let me know in the comments below, and also let me know how you feel or think about my new setup. I moved a lot of this to my room. So with that being said, send you guys love and light, and I will see you guys next time.